right, everybody, glad you're here. So we're going to be talking about the 9 keys to unlocking service learning. And these are based upon our experiences interacting with faculty, students, and community partners about what actually makes an effective service learning course. So let's first talk about what is community service versus service learning. So community service is volunteer action based on meeting the needs of the community. And examples of this could include a canned food drive, a coat drive, or writing cards for residents of a nursing home. So the projects are made to develop the skills of volunteerism, and volunteerism is basically altruistic, and it's about improving the human condition of life. Often these are individual-based projects, and they can also be court-ordered at certain times. Now with service learning, we consider that to be community service on steroids. So these projects are basically designed by the faculty member and the community partner. The project asks students to apply course material to community-based activities. So what this allows is for experiential learning in a context of real-world applications. And so this develops the habits of community engagement. So community partners also benefit by having their significant needs met by these volunteers, students. So take, for example, a canned food drive. If it was a service learning project, the students may do research on hunger and homelessness in the community by reading local research or course materials. They may talk with the members of the food bank to find out what are their needs. So they may gather nutritious ingredients and talk with how to gather these ingredients and talk with families about how to implement nutritious meals in their families. Using math, they can graph the results of their canned food drive. And then by taking this information, they can present it amongst community organizations, governmental boards in order to affect change. So in closing, community service is not integrated, and the curriculum is not community service. It's just service. I'm sorry, it's not service learning, it's just service.
So you may want to begin with yourself, what you want to get from your course being service learning, and what you hope your students gain from incorporating service learning into your course. Next, you want to be sure to ask your partner what they need, because you don't want to go to a site and do service that's not really benefiting your partner. And lastly, you should keep in mind what your students need and what challenges they may face with doing service. One challenge that we ran into this year was transportation. Some students don't come to campus with a car, and also parking is pretty difficult on this campus. I'm sure you've experienced it. But one course had a class that went to a school in the morning, so when the students came back to campus, they couldn't find parking spaces. So we actually have resources available if you have that issue. We've compiled a bus schedule for public transportation. There are also other options available for students to find help with transportation. Which leads me to why you should be doing service learning anyway. There are a lot of benefits for service learning. Literature tells us that students understand the material better, and they tend to retain more information and enjoy classes more. Also, students increase personal development. They learn what they like, their interests, and some actually discover that they may be heading down a career path that they're not as interested in and change career paths because of the service that they've done. It also increases student understanding of social problems, whether that's in Birmingham or other cities in Alabama. And with any benefits, there are also barriers. One may be time limitations. Obviously, a semester is only so long. You have to cram a lot of information in that semester already. But service learning is meant to enhance the learning and not hinder students' learning. So some faculty fear that they may have difficulty balancing professional responsibilities with the service components of the course. I think it's important to remember that what works for one professor may not work for every professor, so you have to kind of develop your own way of service learning with your course. Also, challenges with student readiness. This means like student maturity, basically. Students come to college with various levels of maturity, and some may not have the service experience that others may have. So one way to kind of get over this barrier is to encourage students to go to an orientation with your community partner, or maybe if they don't offer one, to offer one yourself, just to give them guidelines as far as completing community service and or service learning, and what they should expect when they get to their site. And lastly, building sustainable service learning. So this is basically service learning that can continue after the semester is over. So the nature of semester, you have different students each term. So that's a whole new group of students you have to teach about service learning and kind of get them on the same page. And one way to get past this barrier is to establish a relationship with your community partner so that they know you and they know, what you're coming there to do. It also helps you to get to know the community better, and that the community as a whole will know you and the service that you're going to be doing there.
About these benefits is, in the elementary school, I think the young kids is easy, to guide them to do something, to make their personal development. But for the college student or the graduate student, is how to increase to do something to increase the personal development and for them for the social
Yeah. Well, I guess my own story, I did service learning as an undergrad, and it was a medical sociology class. And I went into it thinking that, I did not know what I would be doing. I actually worked with children, and I am not a teacher. I typically would not have, just volunteered on my own to work with children. But after the service learning component of my class, I actually really enjoyed it. Not that I'm going to be a teacher now, but I really loved it. I loved working with the kids. And I think just that kind of personal growth, just learning more about yourself and maybe, I guess changing your thought process, because that's something I would never have done on my own. But, taking that class, it was definitely a really good, experience.